You know I'd love to, but you see, I need I need marble halls, and I need the 7 bales. Oh, I see. The Hollywood touches that we haven't got yet. There are people so beautiful the whole world looks up to them. Yet, they can go many days without bathing, masking the body scent only with perfume. There are gentlemen celebrated as models of elegance. Yet every time they take off their shoes, the entire set scatters. There are even stars who sleep with a full face of makeup for 3 days, straight until their bedding is saturated with foundation and old perspiration. These less than tidy stories were kept hidden for decades until wardrobe staff, makeup artists, and even co-stars began to speak up. In today's video, we'll peel back the curtain on the real world of 12 screen legends. People who made Hollywood not only dazzling, but so intensely scented that no one dared sit too close. And believe me, the last person on this list will make you exclaim, there's no way they actually lived that uncleanly. Chuck 1, Grace Kelly, the Princess of Chanel Namu. 5. So wary of water that she almost never bathed. Grace Kelly's beauty led the world to call her the flawless rose. But to those who had shared a dressing room, she wasn't a rose. She was a walking bottle of perfume. Not because Kelly simply loved fragrance, but because she disliked water. In the 1950s, while filming To Catch a Thief in Nice, France, the Paramount crew had to adapt to the leading lady's unusual routine. Grace didn't bathe daily as people imagined. She believed water dried out the skin and washed away the natural sheen of her powder. Each morning, Kelly would wipe her neck and underarms with alcohol-soaked cotton, then spray Chanel No. 5 from head to toe. Not only on her skin, she misted it overnight gowns, bed linens, and even the curtains. A staffer at the Carlton Hotel told Paris, matched that Kelly's perfume lingered so intensely on the drapes that it stayed even after 3 washes. Her room always felt like a sealed perfume boutique, stuffy, sugary, and dusted with powder. When the film lights switched on, perspiration mixed with Chanel No. 5 into a luxurious, breath-catching aroma. Some crew members jokingly called the backstage area the Chanel Steam Room. Even after becoming Princess of Monaco, Kelly kept this unusual habit. Lamon once wrote that the Monaco Palace had an entire suite dedicated to storing perfume and single use. Linens for Grace Kelly. House. Staff revealed they aerated the room with steam each morning to diffuse the remaining heavy scent. Under the lights, Grace Kelly always appeared radiant, pristine like a dream. But those who had been close remembered. She was the woman so fragrant that others wanted to step outside for fresh air. While Grace left Hollywood breathless with perfume, another star made sets heat up for real. Not from the lamps, but from makeup melting on her face. 2. Rita Worth. A lingering shadow of lead powder and warming lanolin under the lights. Amid the glittering 1940s, Rita Hayworth defined allure. But behind the silk gowns and the glow of spotlights, she lived with a secret the crew had to endure. The smell of cosmetics under heat. At Columbia Pictures in Los Angeles in 1946 during Gilda, temperatures beneath the carbon lamps often climbed above 40. Rita wore makeup as thick as a mask. Foundation with lead, rice powder, and lanolin. A raw sheep fat derivative with a distinct tang. Under the hot lamps, it softened, evaporated, and produced a faint haze. A lighting tech told Life magazine that you could see a white mist rising around her face like fog. It wasn't a cinematic effect. It was the scent of overheated cosmetics. She never removed her makeup thoroughly, believing powder would lock in beauty. After shooting, Rita would only wipe her face lightly with a damp cloth, then add a heavier layer of cream to maintain the skin. Product built up day after day, leading to irritation, peeling, and oiliness. A Beverly Hills dermatologist had to use a mild acid solution to cleanse her scalp every weekend. Even so, Rita never abandoned the habit. In her Columbia dressing room, the air was dense with old powder and dry perspiration. She hung wet towels to keep the room humid, leaving the space perpetually damp and musty. A makeup artist once described it. The air in there was so thick you could feel it on your skin. After Ritter left, fans ran for 2 hours to clear the scent. The siren of Gilda could make millions swoon, but co-workers kept their distance. In 1952, a Los Angeles Examiner journalist wrote that Rita's beauty made the world look up, but her makeup scent sent the crew to the windows. Rita Hayworth was proof of an era when beauty was painted with lead and lanolin. And behind that glow was skin that quite literally steamed under the lights. After Hollywood had endured enough of warming powder, American television would gasp for another reason. This time from hair dye and a very unusual laundry habit of the queen of sitcoms. 3. Lucille Ball drying underwear with heat lamps and hair saturated with dye that smelled like chemicals. In TV's golden age, Lucille Ball was America's laughter icon. But behind the scenes of I Love Lucy at CB's Hollywood, she was remembered not for her laugh, but for the smell. Lucille's famous flame orange hair came from a powerful ammonia-based Clairol dye. To maintain the color, she dyed it every 2 weeks and rarely washed it. Her scalp became sensitive and oily, but Lucille would simply dab it with a dry towel and apply more hair oil. After several shoot days, her hair clung together, collecting stage powder and perspiration. The mingled scent of dye and oil spread through the studio. A cameraman told TV Guide in 1956 that all it took was one turn of her head for the chemical scent to sting everyone's eyes. It wasn't just the hair. Her clothing was its own story. With a packed schedule, she had no time to wash undergarments and often hung them near heat lamps to dry and wear again. The heat released the smell of sweat and old powder, soaking into the dressing room's curtains, rugs, and walls. When CBS renovated the studio in 1957, they replaced all the furnishings because the dye and damp fabric smell couldn't be removed. Lucille also had a habit of spraying inexpensive perfume to mask odors, making the air dense with synthetic fragrance. A wardrobe assistant said her room felt more like a chemical mixing space than a hair station. By season 3, Lucille's hair began falling out in patches from scalp irritation, forcing stylists to craft special caps to conceal thinning areas. On camera, Lucille shone in floral dresses with a bright smile. But backstage, people joked. Stand near Lucille and you can guess the Clairol palette. Lucille Ball epitomized that Hollywood glorious, chaotic, and surprisingly untidy. When the stage lights went dark, what remained was dye, sweat, and a room the cleaners didn't want to linger in. And after Lucille, people thought it couldn't get worse. Until Greta Garbo appeared with the habit of sleeping in a thick layer of makeup for days, imprinting her face onto the pillow. 4. Greta Garbo, sleeping for days with old makeup until pillows kept its shape. Anyone who stepped into Garbo's private suite at the Beverly Wilshire in 1935 said the same thing. The scent in there could make you dizzy. Garbo almost never bathed. She believed water washed away presence and sped up aging. Each night, instead of washing, she lightly wiped her face with mineral oil, then applied lip-based foundation and beeswax to maintain radiance. Day after day, makeup accumulated like a mask. Pillows, sheets, even towels took on residue of foundation, dry powder, and perspiration. A housekeeper told the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, her room smelled of old powder mixed with skin, sweetish and sour like musty cosmetics. Her makeup room's air was always heavy. Products overflowed on the table. Brush rinsing cups turned cloudy. Used cotton pads were scattered around. MGM makeup artists wore masks while retouching her base as the mineral oil and lead smell stung the eyes. One recalled, "Open the door and the scent of old powder would rush out and cling to your clothes for hours." It didn't stop there. Garbo kept costumes unwashed for weeks. Velvet gowns, fur wraps, silk scarves, all yellowed at the collars and cuffs. She believed they held the energy of the character, so they weren't laundered, only dusted with talc. That so-called performance energy was in truth trapped humidity and sweat. Living in a Manhattan apartment in the 1950s, neighbors said they could tell Garbo was home just by the old makeup scent drifting from under the door. Someone wrote in the New York Post that the fifth floor hallway always carried a heavy note of mineral oil and stale powder. Garbo rarely received guests, and perhaps that's how she preserved her myth, a legend scented with old powder and solitude. She didn't bathe, didn't wash, didn't open windows, living in a private world that was close and humid. The most beautiful goddess of the screen turned out to be someone who made others hold their breath upon entering the room. But at least Garbo kept her distance, unlike the next gentleman for whom every time he took off his shoes. The set felt like a summer training camp. 5. James Stewart. Wearing the same socks all day left sets filled with the scent of old shoes. James Stewart was the archetype of the American gentleman, tall, courteous, with a calm voice. But 5 minutes near him, and anyone knew that reputation couldn't mask Hollywood's most famous footchin. Throughout the 1940s at MGM in Culver City, Stewart was known for a peculiar habit. He never changed socks during the day. A former Air Force pilot, he was used to wearing shoes for 16 hours and brought that habit back to set. Heavy leather shoes, thick wool socks, California heat. The result was a